Hello, everyone. My name is Jordyn Smith, and I'm the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. I am currently um, still technically on vacation, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this Capricorn New Moon happening today in a little less than an hour. It's 3:51 p.m. Central Time that I'm doing this video. And I'm going to pull up the chart here in just a second to talk about this new moon. It is the last new moon of 2024. It's happening, 2 days before this new year happens on January 1st. So, I wanted to just kind of do a little overview of this before I get back to my family. Um, Before I go into this, I did want to say I am no longer doing the Christmas special. I am really excited for all of you who signed up for the Christmas special. I'm really looking forward to connecting with each one of you. If you didn't get to sign up for that, um, I wanted to let the Capricorns out there know that you still have your birthday special running until January 20th, and then it will be Aquarius. So if you want to meet with me and go over your natal chart and what your soul evolutionary path intention is, um, in this lifetime, I am happy to answer any and all of your questions and go over your natal chart. I also will go over your solar return, so the things that are coming up for you this year to work on for your own evolutionary intent. Obviously, this is through the lens of evolutionary astrology, and that is the philosophy that I practice in astrology. Anyway, that's 90 minutes that you get to meet with me on Zoom, and I will record it, go over these two charts with you. I will answer any and all questions that you have, and that's only for $75. So if you are a Capricorn and you missed out on the Christmas special, you can go ahead and book that. As always, I have all of the offerings, tutoring, um, long-term one-on-ones, packages you can sign up for, relationship readings, which I love doing, and then just, astrological counseling. There's many different things going on there. I'm also, for those who have signed up for the Goddess Asteroid series, I'm looking forward to next week's on Saturday's second class. I had to those of you who have signed up know that I had a kiddo who was sick and I had to pro delay that, excuse me, and reschedule it. So I'm looking forward to going over the two asteroids, Sophrosine and also Palisathene. If you want to drop in for that class, you can email me and let me know, and I can send you an invoice. It's only $35 to participate in that class, and you'll receive the recording afterwards. So, without further ado, let's get into this new moon, your last new moon of 2024. Um, and this chart to me is a chart that is really indicative of a lot of soul growth. Um, Capricorn is this sign of emotional maturation, right? Especially when we're dealing with the moon in Capricorn. This is about an emotional maturation process. And I want you to think about how Capricorn is part of the cardinal axis. So it is definitely tied into the South node in Libra and the North node in Aries. And it's really speaking to taking everything that you've learned from this past 18th month cycle of the nodes being in Libra and in Aries, and now just taking it and starting a brand new evolutionary cycle where you're taking the wisdom, Capricorn, that you've garnered from this cycle and applying it, especially over the next 6 months, to cultivate an even more deeper awareness and emotional maturation process that is wanting to be had. So I'm going to do this quick video and really show you this chart. So let me point out a couple of things. As always, for those of you who are students of astrology, when we look at any type of event and we want to have a whole collective look where we get to use not just the signs that planets or luminaries or nodes are in or asteroids, we want to also be able to use the houses. You're going to use Greenwich, England as the place. So this new moon is falling in the fourth house in Cap. It's also conditioned by Sagittarius, which is pulling in this Jupiter retrograde, and the ninth house in Gemini, which is square to this new moon's ruler, Saturn in Pisces, falling in the sixth, which is conditioned by Aquarius. So it's also pulling in this Uranus retrograde. I love this. Uranus is also the ruler of this Pluto falling in the fifth house. So lots to look at here. This is also, Pluto is trining the south node, sextile the north node, and it is, the second opposition of Pluto and Mars. It's moving into this opposition that is not going to perfect until January 2nd, and I will definitely be going over this soon with you all. Maybe over the next couple of days, whenever I get a chance. So I want you to think about this. This is really interesting. The moon is in its, natural house of the fourth house. This is paradoxical a bit because the moon is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is the polarity of Cancer. So it's bringing in these Cancerian and Capricornian energies in an influx. And it's really speaking to this 6-month period of initiating and cultivating more emotional maturation. It's about taking everything that you've learned from this 18-month cycle, and I would even take it further to 2008 when Pluto was in the sign of Capricorn, and looking at all of these areas that were highlighted in our lives of these Libran dynamics of extremes or harmony, and where our will was meeting someone else's, and really doing this emotional maturation work of having more relationships that are rooted in being able to harmonize with someone else. So there's been these trials and these tribulations of having to confront codependencies, or our own ability to hear, our own ability to share, and whom to share with and whom not to share with, and who to give to and whom not to give to. And so now it's really taking all of that and applying that wisdom, Capricorn, that one has garnered. And then we get into this moon as being ruled by Saturn in the sign of Pisces in the sixth house. And so it's really about improving upon the wisdom that we have cultivated and utilizing it not just to improve sixth house, but to also to liberate from the old ideals that have impeded upon us having this place of sovereignty. I'm going to stop this share and really speak to this some more. Um, but it's like that Saturn ruling this new moon in the sixth house, being in the sixth house and in Pisces, is really speaking to continuing to purge the past in order for this restructuring to occur. In order for restructuring to occur, there has to be an emotional maturation process. What I mean by an emotional maturation process, okay, is in the sign of Libra, which technically this moon is still square to, but it's moving out of a square, so it's not so hard. It's not like as if this moon had been at 1 degrees Cap, this would be dynamic tension. But it's not. It's moving away, and we've got Pluto in a lovely trine to that south node in Libra. What this is really indicating is what I was saying is there is this emotional maturation process underway, and what that means is I'm learning how to feel secure within myself. I don't need to outsource my security. I don't need to get into these kind of dynamics where I'm needing to seek my validation from outside of myself. I can feel whole within myself. I can feel like I can stand on my own 2 feet, my own 2 legs. I have a foundation here. That doesn't mean that the work is done and over with. And that is what Saturn and Pisces is pointing to, is this truly healing process of one dissolving old structures. Yes, been going over this for a very long time now through my videos. But also this new moon with Saturn ruling it in this placement and that sign in that house is really about cultivating habits in order for the furthering of the restructure within our consciousness to occur. It's like being able to apply the wisdom in the here and now, in the present moment, in the day to day. That is such a sixth house function. And as one does that, one gets to Piscean heal. It gets to experience the compassion of life by living in the present moment. Capricorn can really be about this self-reflection. And for a long time with Pluto in Capricorn, it had been about this like need to revisit the past in order to move forwards. Now that Pluto's in Aquarius and it's trining that south node, it's really about breaking free of the past, liberating from it in order to shape and cultivate one's own destiny with that Mars and Leo in the 11th house of this chart is about not being too prideful in this. It's about how do I show up in the world by staying in my own lane and being my own unique and sovereign person? And as I do so, this Saturn and Pisces can really cultivate a lot of healing for myself and a lot of healing in my own relational dynamics. And as this is occurring, and as I take things step by step, as they come in the present moment, and I handle them in the here and now, I don't delay, I don't deny, I don't put it off. That really helps me to do this new moon work, this new moon in Capricorn in the fourth house, cultivating more emotional maturation and wisdom through inwardly validating oneself. And also with Sagittarius conditioning this new moon, it being on that fourth house cusp, it's about just being authentic and being true to who you are. If you need to say something to someone, say it. Do it with a responsiveness and not a reaction. It's about being mature in all facets of life. What have you learned over the last 18 months about your own relational dynamics? What is this karmic inheritance kind of work that you've been dealing with, looking at family systems or reflecting on how your early childhood development affected, the ways in which you feel secure within yourself or how you have initiated relationships with others. Was the initiation of relationships, because you were needing inner validation, or now are you able to really stay in your own lane and be present in your relationships and be authentic. And with Jupiter ruling that fourth house cusp and it's in Gemini in that ninth house, and it's square to that Saturn and Pisces, it's about what is the vision that you see for yourself? How can you expand upon your own inner emotional knowledge? That's that Mercury ruling that Jupiter falling in that fourth house. What feels authentic, and how can you continue to transform your inner relationship to self by being your own authentic person? It's really about fortifying and strengthening your own relationship to self emotionally, understanding your own values, your own individuality. And also, I have to say, with Uranus and Jupiter falling in that ninth house, it can also be where, and Pluto being ruled by that Uranus, but Pluto trining that south node and sextiling that north node in Aries is really this dynamic of allowing people to have their own perceptions. Not really, why are we caring so much about the appearances or the way someone views our own authority? It's really being able to stand in one's own authority and to nurture that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to take accountability or responsibility whenever I mess up. We all, make mistakes. We all say things that we wish that we hadn't. We all have actions that we wish that we didn't have. That's part of this evolutionary journey of learning. It's that feedback that we receive, but it's also there's this fine line of understanding when to take accountability and responsibility and to improve upon our own inner dynamics, which so much of this chart is speaking to, and the healing properties of that. But it's also, we live in a day and an age. It's a very Leo Capricorn dynamic where we care so much about what other people are thinking. And it's really about not conforming to that. It's about feeling good in your own skin. It's about understanding who you are and understanding that that is okay. And so, a lesson that I think that this chart is really speaking to, besides everything that I've just spoken to, is Um, I have a dad who's a Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. I also have a sister who's a Capricorn. But when I think of this new moon falling in the fourth house and it being ruled by Saturn and Pisces, there's these Capricornian words that my dad said to me one time. I was about 24, 23, 24. I had a lot going on in my life, and I was really trying to improve by confronting these kind of things about myself that I didn't really like. And it had to deal with my choices that had led to certain situations. And me, I was very Pollyanna and naive, and I wanted to do all of this kind of Virgo stuff, which was not, it was really denying the truth of situations that were occurring in my life and really submitting to things, very Virgo, being very submissive and really allowing life to take hold of me instead of being my own authority. And I got into some really precarious situations that really affected my self-worth and self-esteem. And the words that my dad said to me one day, I remember I was outside smoking a cigarette with him. I remember it like yesterday. And I've said this on this channel before, but he looked at me and he was like, George, the good news is you don't ever have to be that person again if you don't want to. And I haven't been that person since I heard those words. And so this is a new moon that can really teach us lessons, and you are the person who shapes your own destiny. Pluto in the fifth house of this chart, entering in opposition to Mars and Leo. To not be too prideful, but to humble oneself. Saturn, Pisces in that sixth house. Venus in the sixth house in Aquarius. Liberating from these past dynamics, gaining objective awareness that is cultivating an inner wisdom, Capricorn, that can emotionally validate yourself and giving yourself this Piscean grace of allowing yourself to say, yeah, I don't really like some of the choices that I made, but I'm not the same person I was 18 months ago. And I don't ever have to make those choices again if I don't want to. And so this next 6 months is really about cultivating that dynamic of we can get these Capricornian tests. If you've been on my channel long enough, you've heard me talk about this dynamic. Capricorn can give us soul tests to say, no, that's not who I am. And it echoes this dynamic of what my dad, who's a Capricorn, even said. Like, you don't have to be that person. You can almost think of it as Capricorn is like shape shifting, right? Um, It's where we can really grasp the concept of being one's own authority and being able to ask and answer our own questions in order to emotionally validate ourselves instead of doing Libra in a distorted way, outsourcing it from others. This new moon chart is speaking to liberating from all of those dynamics and being responsible with our choice making as a way to inwardly nurture ourselves. There's nothing more nurturing than one, a spiritual relationship, which Saturn and Pisces in the sixth is really indicative of. If you want to become emotionally secure within, have a spiritual relationship. Don't give ultimate meaning to anything else except for your inner relationship and your relationship to source. This is another way to look at this. So liberate from all of this crap from the past that you've been taught or conditioned. And then the other dynamic is to really um, blaze your own path. Follow your intuition, your own inner guidance. Follow your fourth house, new moon, your gut, as a way to cultivate this. And there are trials and tribulations, but this new moon is really speaking to as you come up against old patterns, you get to make a new choice. And is it going to be who you once were, or is it going to be resonating with what feels authentic to who you are here and now? And we are meant to change. We are meant to evolve. We are meant to emotionally mature. And that means that what I would have done 18 months ago is not the same thing I would do now, because that is really reflecting and indicative of my own evolutionary growth. And this is how you can think of this as well. There's a lot of healing qualities about this new moon. Um, And I hope that I've done it justice by explaining this. I also want you to know that Lilith, the asteroid, is conjunct this new moon. It's at 9 degrees Capricorn. So there is this intensification of a soul calling to come back to oneself, which is, I don't have to give my authority away to anyone. What I need to know is within me. I have my own wisdom, and I can learn more and expand upon this wisdom each time that I take an action in the present moment and I receive feedback. And I don't have to take it on as guilt, shame, or self-judgment. I can use that Maya Angelou quote, when you know better, you do better. You can also reflect and pause for a moment to center and ground yourself over the next 6 months to look at, okay, I would have handled it this way in the past, but this is how I'm feeling now. How would I handle this now? That way, there's not this recycling of old dynamics. It's really this emotionally maturing process and a deep understanding of finding family within yourself, right? So, this is your new moon forecast. I have got to go back to family myself. Um, and I hope that this helps for you all to understand what this is indicative of. Um, there are some really beautiful aspects going on. That Pluto trining that south node to me is gorgeous. Saturn ruling this moon, and it's in the sixth house and in Pisces. You've got Uranus and Jupiter in the ninth house. Uranus is squaring Venus, so there's a lot of a need to act on self-improving in order to create new patterns, new structures, new that sixth house energy is very much like the day-to-day work. Like, what are your habits? What are these new habits that you're wanting to start in order to apply what you've learned from the past to the present moment right now? How do you want that to be the new foundation that you stand upon? Create those habits, liberate from the old. This is this chart. And as you do that, it'll feel good. You know, I'm doing the thing that I feel called to do. I'm nurturing myself every single time I follow through. And I have Capricornian self-determination that will emotionally validate you. That's that new moon and that fourth house, and also these energies playing out in the sixth. So it's just really the only crux that or Achilles heel of this is that Mars opposition to Pluto is, are you being too prideful? Or are you getting in your own way? Are you being self-defeating? How can you come back to self-love and self-respect and self-dignity? And Lilith, conjunct this new moon, is really about this recovering of this dynamic of sloughing off where we feel guilt, shame, or judgment on an emotional level that's impeding upon our divine right to have the healing that our souls are so desperately wanting to have right now through whatever circumstances you've been going through. So, new moon, give yourself this Piscean grace, um, have compassion and love, and muster up all of your self-determination to cultivate these new habits that each one of us is desiring to have on a soul level right now. This is a great new moon to think about what are these habits that I want to put in place. And with Saturn square Jupiter, it's about expanding upon this through tapping into our intuition to see the vision and then putting into action North Node in Aries, the new patterns that it takes to cultivate the vision that we see for ourselves and our own healing. So happy new moon, and I will see you all hopefully later this week to go further into this Pluto opposite Mars. If not, I will see you all next week. I know that my books are filled up for the next 2.5 weeks of the new year, I want to say. So if you're wanting to see me, just know that they're starting to fill up more and more, and I wanted to put that out there. That way, if you feel a call to have a reading with me, um, just know that there might be a little bit of a wait. Um, but anyway, I will see you all soon, and happy Capricorn new moon and happy new year.